All right, mate. So I thought I'd better turn the light on because otherwise, it's getting a bit
Otherwise, we sit in the pitch black.
Yeah, in my pants.
Oh God! Jesus Christ! Put the cowboy hat on.
You're never going to be able to get that image out your head. Oh dear.
Well, no, I'm not. Of course, I'm not. Why would I want to?
Yeah, well, this is it. Right. Okay. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bitesize Cinema. I'm your host RJ McCready, and for this episode I'm going to be taking you guys back to the year in 1985 to look at the martial arts Jackie Chan movie Police Story. And joining me for the show today is Dan Bone for another bite of the Bitesize Cinema. Dan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, pretty excited about this one, Dan, to be honest with you. I mean, ever since we started Masters of the Universe, it's just sort of gone with a nice roll, isn't it? You know, when you came on, I said, do you want to come back on? And I mentioned Enter the Dragon. And we now done two shows.
It's the natural order of life, really. You move from He-Man to Bruce Lee to Jackie Chan, you know. It's what every 9 to 10-year-old boy does.
Absolutely, mate. And I'm just loving it, mate. I tell you, it's great. So, but before we have a look at the show, what have you been up to, Dan? You been watching any anything, any movies or anything like that? Any shark movies?
Well, I've not watched any more of my terrible shark movies yet, and I keep getting scolded by Gav for that. But also, he kind of loves me telling him that I'm watching them. As do you, RJ, really.
Yeah, I know.
But I actually was just saying to you off air, RJ, that I did come across a great movie called Journey to the Far Side of the Sun.
Oh yeah.
From I think that was from the 60s actually.
Yeah.
And that was such a great sci-fi movie. It really opened my eyes. I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of the last things I watched, really. And I also rewatched See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Price.
Classic.
And
yeah, I haven't seen that one, Tom.
yeah, I'm surprised no one really talks about that movie. It's kind of one of those ones that you start off watching it, you think, oh, this probably hasn't aged very well, and then you get into it and you think, it's quite funny actually, though, isn't it?
You can't go wrong with Richard Pryor and
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder. Why did his name just slip my mind? But yeah, because I think the first film that I saw them two in was Stir Crazy, when they go to jail, and that's quite a classic movie. Yeah,
they do have very good chemistry between them. Awesome, very awesome. And actually, I did watch another movie. If you're asking me what I watched, so you've started it off now. I did watch another movie the other day, and I thought, because Alice watched it with me, my wife Alice was watching it with me, and she didn't show any interest initially, and it was Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh, the Steven Spielberg
and
one, was it?
Yeah, and I'd only seen it once, and about 5 minutes into it, I looked at her face, and she was hooked.
Oh, wow.
Like, really hooked on it. And I ended up thinking, actually, I could imagine RJ covering this on his show, because it's one of those not very talked about movies that actually is, everything about it ticks every box for me. It's set in a, sort of 70 years ago. It's got that detective stuff going on. It's really adventurous. It's very Indiana Jones at times, obviously, with Spielberg being involved.
Oh, I don't know anything about Indy.
Movie?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, in fact, it was the first film that me and Becky went to go and watch at the cinema together.
Nice.
Yeah, because she actually keeps a list of the films that we go to see, believe it or not.
Oh man, that's cute.
She
that's
does.
Cute.
And Tintin is the first one that we watched. And funny enough, I saw that. I think it was on TV not long ago, like you say. And I revisited it, and I thought it's actually, like you say, a really good film. It does everything that you want it to do, really, doesn't it? It's got adventure, mystery, comedy, everything. So
I'd like to see sequels, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't get a sequel. I'm not sure if it didn't do too well, or it's too big a budget, or what. I don't know, but there's certainly a load of Tintin novels out there, isn't there, or comic books?
Yeah, definitely.
Because they sort of insinuate.
I really liked it.
They sort of insinuate at the end of that movie that they might go to space, don't they? Because you see the moon, don't you? So that'd be quite a good one. So.
I think we discussed this recently, didn't we? We said everything ends up in space at some point. So
I just realised what I said there, Dan, and there was I didn't do that on purpose, mate. Tintin in space.
But everybody ends up in space. You the leprechaun, Jason Voorhees, Tintin.
Sharks, was it?
Sharks in space.
Oh my God Almighty! Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. But I'm very excited about. This is something that you posted on your page. Actually, was The Last of Us has been taken on by HBO, which is the zombie
It
apocalypse
has,
movie.
yeah.
Are you?
So, I know that you are a big gamer, and particularly you're a big fan of this game. There's quite a few guys that listen to our shows. I've never played the game. I know you were about to ask me that. I've never played the game, but I know about it. I know that the Girl with All the Gifts is very much influenced by
Yes, it is. Yeah,
by that game.
Yeah, very much so. The Girl with All the Gifts is a good film. I know you covered that on Haunted Hill with Gav, didn't you? That one.
We did, yeah.
So the thing I liked about The Last of Us is actually, I'm a gamer, love my computer games, PlayStations, all that sort of stuff. But with this game, right, it was a groundbreaking game because it's such a good story. Do you know what I mean? It's just like you don't, you know, like you have shoot 'em up games, you've got loads of ammunition, you shoot everything up. With this one, you don't have anything, so you've got to survive with little ammo, and you've got to make all your weapons up. But the story is just amazing. It's just a story of redemption with this character Joel looking after this little girl in the apocalypse, and it's just blew me away, man. So I'm looking
So you're on
forward
board. You think that would make a good show then?
I always said it as soon as I played it, and this was back in 2014, might have been 2012 actually. I can't remember now. It's been a long time. And I actually said at the end of it, I said, "Boy, that would make a really good film." You know, just with the whole zombie thing that was going on at the time, you know. And I know the zombie genre has been done to death almost, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? But
No pun intended, or was there?
Actually, oh man, what am I saying? Yeah, no pun intended there. But I do think that this could probably relaunch something else, if you know what I mean, because the story is so good.
Because I think people are sick of The Walking Dead. I mean, season 10 is on at the moment, or just finished actually. I haven't actually watched season 10 yet. I've seen it all the other seasons, but do you know what? I just want it to end now. And you got Fear the Walking Dead, and there's a few other shows and a few other things. But you're right, the zombie genre is it's time to put it to one side for a little bit, I think, and take a look at a different genre. But maybe this could be something fresh for everybody.
Well, the best thing they can do is just tell the story. Maybe do like a 3, maybe 6-part story, and just leave it at that. And just did you watch Chernobyl?
I really need to see that, and a lot of people have recommended it to me. I haven't seen it.
Dan, that's probably one of the best things I've seen in a long time.
Really?
Yeah. Really done well. So, and that's kind of what's excited me for The Last of Us, because it's the same people. So you've got the director of Chernobyl and HBO.
Oh wow!
I'm just thinking, this is too good to be true.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see, mate.
Approach with caution though, because I don't want to see you get your heart broken, RJ. That's the only thing. So, do you know what I mean? These things happen sometimes. You think, oh, this is going to be great. They're going to turn my favourite comic or my favourite video game, and this happened with me. You know, they're turning my favourite video game into a movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia. This is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, this is.
Looking back on it, I actually do love that movie, but at the time I was like, this is not what I signed up for. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to go in with a surprise, isn't it? As we all say, I've heard a lot of movie fans say, I walked into the cinema, I knew nothing about this film, and then I just went, oh wow, that was really good. Do you know what I mean? So no expectations, but yeah, we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see. So.
Well, it'll be interesting, and we should have a catch up then, if and when it does get made, because you know the game really well. I've never played it and know nothing about it.
Yeah.
So I'll be going into it as somebody very fresh to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you'll be going into it as somebody who knows the game inside and out, has played it very well. So it'd be interesting for us to have a catch up then when all this is done and dusted, whenever that may be, and we can reveal our thoughts on it.
We'll put that in, mate. Yeah, not a problem at all. Yeah, we'll throw that in as an episode and talk about it. And like I say, I won't tell you any more about it because I don't want to spoil the surprise, because there are some surprises in that, so which makes it good. So I will leave it at that. There's one other thing I was going to say, Dan, before we do the show. I just wanted to shout out your co-host, actually, Gav Chucky Still, because every now and again I like to shout him out, because wouldn't be able to do this show without him because he supplies all the music for the show. From his album Abstract 85, which he very kindly said, yep, you can use it. So I just thought I'd bring that up.
He's a good guy, Gav.
Yes.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's my best buddy and my co-host, and he's a very talented man. And I am only going to say this for a few seconds, don't worry. But Gav, you are very much loved and a very talented guy and appreciated by a lot of people. Thank you.
Yeah,
there we go.
Dan,
I agree with you.
I'm just handing over some electronic tissues over to you.
I'm not sure what I need them for, but
Gav will understand. Gav will understand. Oh, he will. But yeah, nice. So thanks for that, man. Because when I listened to his album, I listened to those tracks, and I actually thought the main theme which I use here, which is actually called theme, I thought, well, that might be a really good intro for a podcast. So funny enough, I'm using it now. So
I always sing along to it whenever I press play for your show. I'm always like do 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 do.
You should send it to John Carpenter. Maybe he could play it on his keyboard.
Or maybe Cody Carpenter.
Cody Carpenter, yeah, that's it. Right, so there you go, guys. So that's what we've been watching. So let's have a talk about this movie then, Dan. So let's get on that bus. Let's grab ourselves an umbrella. Let's play a trailer, and we'll see you guys soon.
Jackie Chan. Hold it! Dynamic. Dauntless. Resourceful. A ladies' man. He's no average cop, but he gets the job done. At first, he was hailed as a hero.
Lock him in the cells. Yes, sir. Book him. For murder.
Until he got set up.
Get in!
Now his whole police precinct is after him. To clear his name, his only chance is to get the crooks who framed him. Jackie Chan is a one-man battalion. As he sets his record straight in Police Story.
And welcome back, guys. So the synopsis for this film is: a virtuous Hong Kong police officer must clear his good name when the drug lord he is after frames him for murder of a dirty cop. So PG-13, it's got 100-minute runtime. It's got 7.6 on IMDb, and it's classed as a action comedy crime. So Dan, Police Story man, I know this is a favourite of yours. When did you first watch this film?
So, following on from what I mentioned in the last episode I was on with you with the Bruce Lee stuff, my dad obviously got me into the martial art movies through Enter the Dragon and a few other Bruce Lee movies, and then a family favourite of ours was always Cannibal Run.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jackie Chan had a very brief cameo in that. He shows up a couple of times, and there's a badass, kick-ass fight scene he does in that. So I kind of knew about Jackie Chan from that. And then one Christmas, probably very early 90s, so I was probably 10, 11, maybe even a bit younger. There was Channel 4 in the UK here did like a Jackie Chan season over Christmas. So over like 2 weeks, they had Police Story, Armour of God, Project A, and Wheels on Meals, all showing over like maybe it was one weekend. And I got videotapes for Christmas like we used to back in the day in my stocking. So blank videotape. So I recorded them all off TV, and I started watching them all, and slowly became more and more obsessed with Jackie Chan. That then sparked my huge Jackie Chan obsession. But so I probably saw this, I was probably 11 or 12, and my God, I'd never seen anything like it, and we'll get into that when we go through the film, obviously. But the stunts and you could tell, RJ, you know what I'm about to say, everything is real. You can tell there's no CGI, there's no strings, it's just incredible movie.
As I said for the End of the Dragon episode, Dan, I can hear it in your voice just how this means to you, because it's part of our growing up, and I probably watched it about the same time as you. And I seem to remember, obviously going back to, it was probably, I want to say about the 90s, early 90s, because we were still watching stuff on TV, wasn't it? Nothing was really readily available like what we got now. And I seem to remember this, not only just Jackie Chan, but they had all the Godzilla movies on as well. So I just seem to have this.
I think Channel 4 were really showing a load of Asian movies. So they had they even had a couple of very early horror movies. Godzilla, you're right. I do remember this. Maybe it was in like an Asian cinema season or something they did.
Yes, it was just because it was almost like every night, and I was really looking forward to it because I was looking at the TV guide going, oh, there's another Godzilla film on. There's another Jackie Chan film on. And you mentioned Meals on Wheels. That film.
Man.
So I was having this real big spike of all these, like Chinese movies. There was also Akira on there as well.
That movie was that was fantastic.
Yeah, and also you could probably throw in there, I'm probably going back to probably the mid 80s now, but you also had Monkey Magic as well.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Dan. I threw that in there before you did, mate.
I knew you were going to say that. You were going to, and I'm going to sing back to you in response. I'll say to you, born in an egg on a mountain top.
Oh God!
Monkey magic, monkey magic. Oh, that was a weird show, man. Dan, that was like Power Rangers on acid.
Now, tell you what, Dan, I'll tell you a story about this. Okay, so it must have been around about 1985. I was at school. I was in first school, right? And I watched that on TV. It had such an effect on me that I was sat in class daydreaming on the table. I sat at my table, and the teacher's talking away, and I am in Monkey Magic in my head. It's where the school teacher's just saying, RJ, and I'm like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It's just that's the effect that these TV
that show
shows
was
had.
Off the fucking chain, wasn't it? It was just insane. So good.
So yeah, with films like we just say, the Police Story, we had all this, didn't we, back in that time? A massive building block of martial arts. And Jackie
changed the game really with this movie. And for me, the movies that he released all within sort of 4 or 5 years, like the ones I mentioned, Wheels on Meals, Police Story, Armour of God, Project A, and 1 or 2 maybe other ones, because he did his period pieces. He did all the sort of Drunken Master and all that kind of stuff, right, Young Master. Mm-hmm. But when he started moving stuff into a little bit more of a modern setting, even though Project A is set, in the very early 1900th century, it's still much more modern than any of the martial art movies. Once he started doing that, he really changed the game. And obviously the other thing Jackie Chan did, and I'm sure we'll get into this, is everybody knows he does his own stunts. There's no stuntman, there's no strings, there's no CGI. He does it all, really. He's going to kill himself for his art. And that was the thing you watched him for as well. And obviously, off the back of that, and this happened in the Cannibal Run as well, the outtakes, because you knew not only was that movie going to come to a great end with a great fight scene or a stunt, you were then going to get the end credits where they showed you how many times he did it until it got it right.
Yeah, that's
and how many bones people broke. Oh,
it's because when I was looking at Police Story, because it's, as I said before, when you do a podcast, I sort of look at it more of a critical eye, do a bit more research. And kind of what I was getting was that Jackie Chan was obviously trying to break Hollywood. He did those, was it Project A, which you just said, in The Drunken Master. Yeah. And I think with Police Story was kind of like him doing an amalgamation with Hollywood and Golden Harvest as a studio. They've combined, and they basically said to Jackie Chan, because obviously he's a director for it and wrote it, there you go, get on with it, you know, there's your film. And he's just gone, boom, he's just, you know, like I say, he's having a field day, and you can sort of see that on screen, can't you? You know what I mean? He's just
he made a movie in America in the 80s. What was it even called? Damn it, I'm sorry, I should know it. I'm a massive Jackie Chan fan. But he made an American movie with, do you know Danny Aiello? He's been in loads of 80s movies. Big guy. Right. I think he was in Dumb and Dumber, actually. Was it him that was in that? Hang on, I'll tell you the name of the movie now. But yeah, he made a movie where he was basically a cop in America. Yeah. He didn't barely speak English at the time. It was a really bad experience for him. He really didn't enjoy it. Every time he wanted to do a fight scene, the director at the time would say, no, we don't want to do this, that, and the other. We don't need you doing back flips and front flips. We need you to punch one guy, punch the other guy, and that's all we really need you to do. Yeah. And he was so frustrated with his time filming that film. First thing he did was come straight back and decide, right, that's it, I'm going to make... it's called The Protector. Sorry, it's called The Protector. And he plays Billy Wong. That's
right.
And he was so frustrated, he just said, I'm going to show Hollywood how to make a martial arts police story, a martial arts police movie. And this is what he did. And he came back and he did that.
That might have been the
film. This is a determined young man making this movie here.
So this is Jackie Chan just releasing himself, isn't it? Just like you just said, this is what I'm capable of doing. The other thing I read about as well was that Police Story is actually an encrypted title, which is the reason why he calls it Police Story, is because there was another studio that was looking at what he was doing, and to sort of cover it up with the cryptic is, I've called it Police Story, so the other company can work out what that was going to be or something like that. So I thought that's quite,
because it's such a bland name, no one can figure out what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's all things.
And
like
it is a very bland name, really. You know, Police Story. It's not. It doesn't sort of say. You know, it's not like Lethal Weapon or Hard Target.
No, that's right. Just... Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the bus trip.
Well, it's kind of got a speed bus moment in it, hasn't it? Almost, which we'll get into. What a psycho.
Right. Yeah.
Have you seen any? I don't want to step on your toes because it's your show, and I know you're going to go through a few facts and fits in a minute.
Let it flow, Dan. Let it flow. We'll get there, man.
Have you seen any of the sequels?
No, I was going to say to you about that. No, I've only ever seen the first one. I think they've remade it, haven't they? Back in the 2000s.
So they did Police Story 2 in '88, only 3 years later. Jackie did a couple of sequels to some of his bigger movies like this, and Police Story 2 is everything's dialed up to 11. It hasn't quite got the same plot, and it doesn't, because it's not as original. You've seen a lot of it before, but it is incredible. I think Police Story 3, which is also called Super Cop with Michelle Yeoh, that is insane.
Oh, right.
And that's an amazing movie from '92. That got a spin-off with Michelle Yeoh, Super Cop 2, and Jackie turned up in it as the same character for one scene in drag undercover, and beat up a load of guys in a dress, which is awesome. Then they made First Strike, which is Police Story 4 First Strike, which came out in '96, but that came out in the UK and in America as just First Strike, and that was one of his sort of biggest. Not a lot of people have heard of Jackie Chan at that point, so that really broke him. And then, like you say, they kind of remade it, but not. They did New Police Story in 2004, which is the same character again, but getting himself into more shit. And then the last one they did was in 2013. That was It was called Police Story 2013 because it's pretty boring titles. So there's been a load of sequels off of these. But if you want my honest opinion, I'd probably just say check out the first 3.
Right.
But this one is just magic, lightning in a bottle. This first movie, honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. I always follow that trend. Always go back to the one that excited me the most, I suppose I could say, and I'm a killer for that. I always end up going back to these films, you know. You could probably see me post that. There's RJ's posting that film on there again. He's seen about 10 times. But
do you know what though? They're like comfort blanket movies, aren't they? I always say that.
Yeah, they entertain me that much. I just sort of I put them on. I just think I know this film's going to entertain me. It's going to do everything I need it to do. So, and like I say, having revisited this film, it did entertain me big time. And as you said, where you know that he's doing his own stunts, you're thinking, wow. Do you know what I mean? How did he not kill himself? You know, because it's just amazing. But talking about other Jackie Chan films, I have seen his, I suppose you could say later stuff, but it's kind of almost, it's been about for a few years now. You've got like the Tuxedo. I call that on a train. I call that on a plane once.
Problem is, I mean, obviously the guy is a year older than my dad, so he's 67 now, and his body's been through a lot, and he's not doing what he used to do. I think his heyday was definitely probably mid 80s to mid 90s, really.
Yeah, because when did he do Rush Hour? Was that sort of
that was 96, I think,
96.
not maybe even 98, as late as that, maybe.
Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed the
Great movie.
Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights, I think they did.
I love those movies stuff too. They're good. Yeah, they're really good.
What's your name? John Wayne.
John Wang. Are you saying John Wang or John? Oh wow.
Yeah,
are you saying John Wang?
Yeah, that's it. Is it Owen Wilson? I could never. Is it?
Yeah, it's Owen Wilson in that movie. Yeah.
He's so cool, man. He's got that ka-cha, ka-cha, ka-cha. Ooh.
Oh yeah! Wow, that's cool.
Could almost be Nicolas Cage's brother, couldn't he?
He is. He's very closely sounding to my impression of Nicolas Cage, so I do apologise. I'm Nicolas Cage. Oh wow! I'm Owen Wilson. Cool.
I'll tell you what, Dan. Just on a segue, you need to watch Colour Out of Space, mate.
I know. We talked about this, man. I need to. I'm going to bump it up my list.
Right.
I'll get it watched for you.
There's a bit in it, because obviously I can't spoil it for you, but there's a bit in it that is just totally Nicolas Cage, and once you've watched it, I will let you know what bit that is, but you probably will work that out for yourself. So, I knew he was going to get there eventually. I knew Nicolas Cage would infiltrate the show somehow.
Of course he does.
Oh. Right. That's what
let's get back to the police story, actually.
Yeah. So where were we? Yeah. So we was talking about other films. So yeah, he's had a great career. And I always found it interesting what you said the other day with Enter the Dragon, where you said that Bruce Lee saw him at the bowling alley and said that you'd have a really good career, and that kind of happened, didn't it? Really, with him.
It did. He got the blessing, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after Enter the Dragon, Jackie made quite a few martial art movies, serious ones as well, where there's no comedy. And obviously the thing that people should know about Jackie Chan is he's a comedian as well. He's an incredible acrobat and martial artist, but he's a comedian. And whether that's what he's saying or what he's doing with his body. And he soon realised, not long after being in quite a few serious movies, he thought, they just want me to be the next Bruce Lee, and I'm not Bruce Lee. I'm Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the next Bruce Lee. I want to be somebody different. I want to be somebody who's remembered for a particular thing. So he started writing his own rules. Like the majority of his movies are family friendly.
Right.
You know, you could show most of his movies to kids. People don't really tend to get decapitated, and there's not a lot of gore.
Yeah.
There's not really swearing and sex. So he tries to make quite family-friendly stuff. He also wants to do his own stunts. That's another thing he wants to do. He wants to cross over into the West, like Bruce Lee did. So there's elements of Bruce Lee's career that he would like to follow, but he wants to be his own person as well. So he started writing his own rules not long after that. So yeah, it is interesting that Bruce saw something in him, isn't it? Imagine that, Bruce Lee says that to you. It's crazy.
Well, you never know. Bruce Lee might just be his spirit guide in a funny sort of way. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he's just there with him all the time, guiding him through.
Don't concentrate on the finger.
Maybe he's telling Jackie Chan that all the time. When he's running on top of that bus doing that stunt. Concentrate, Jackie, concentrate.
God, how does he come up? How does he come up with these stunts as well? That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Oh dear. So shall we do a bite-sized review then, Dan? Because I think we're pretty much going to throw in the trivia along the way here, mate. I reckon. So
I think that's probably a good idea because we're going to be talking. We're going to go on a few little tangents here and there as well.
We certainly are. Nicolas Cage might be mentioned again somewhere along the way. I don't know. So yeah, let's do it, man. So yeah, we'll do your bite-sized review of Police Story. And Dan, because I love your storytelling, mate, I will let you tell us about this one, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Cool beans, man. Well, let's get into this. So, you've got all your movie tropes in this is all the way through. You've got your baddies, your drug dealers, your cops going undercover, your busts, your stings that go wrong, your car chases. You've got absolutely everything. But we'll try and break this down for you listeners in a bite-sized chunk, but it might spill over. I do apologise if that's the case, because sometimes these things happen. But we do open up. We do open up with a sort of a kind of a slum village on a mountaintop, and the cops are undercover. Jackie Chan being one of the cops. Depending on which version of this you watch, he's got several names because there's like dubbed versions and Chinese versions and Cantonese and Mandarin versions. So he's got loads of different names, but we're just going to call him Jackie Chan, Detective Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
for this,
I'll go with that.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I did. Funny enough, I picked up on that the other day. I thought, again, what is his name? But yeah, they called him Jackie. So
yeah, so his name is actually Kakoi Wong in the actual original movies. Sometimes Kevin Wong, sometimes Kevin Chan, sometimes Jackie Chan, which is always weird if you've got a dubbed version where they're like, "Hey, you, Jackie Chan, come over here," and you're like, well, "Hang on a minute, he is Jackie Chan. What are you saying?"
Really, is his name? Brilliant. Oh dear.
I do. On a side note, I do always try to watch the dubbed versions of old kung fu movies because that adds to the flavour of them for me. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I think it has done. Yeah, I think that has become, how can I put it, accepted in a way, and it kind of adds to that. I think it's been jested sometimes as well, isn't it, in movies where people have talked like, I think it was in American Pie where he goes,
Wayne's World 2. And then it's happened a few times.
They purposely distort their voice, don't they, to make it look like it's been dubbed or something like that.
It's
so,
hilarious.
I
just picture a bunch of American dudes sat around in like the 70s, and they're saying, "Right, this movie's called The Fist of the Golden Lotus, and you're going to play this character, you're going to play that character. Okay, go for it." And they're just sort of making it up as they go along, and it just cracks me up.
and the other thing here, Dan, is like, as you mentioned, you've got all the bad guys. And they're just all running round with grey suits, ties, all pretty slick, aren't they? All wearing glasses. And I noticed that when I watched it, they're all shooting, but no one seems to know where the hell they're shooting. Just shooting at anything.
This movie couldn't be more 80s Hong Kong if it tried. Some of the mobile phones are just absolutely huge.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. You've got some technology in here as well, haven't you? Like, say, the old mobile phones and that. Oh,
so yeah, we open up on this slum village, and basically there's Operation Wild Boar, which the local police, which Jackie Chan's a part of, are taking part in, and they're trying to bust a character called Chu, and he is a renowned drug dealer. He's like a baron, and he's having some kind of a meeting in this village. So the police are all spread out, and they're all trying to keep a low profile. However, it does get picked up on by a couple of Chu's men that there are police there, and that's because it's 1985. They've got like a wire coming out the back of their ear, so you can kind of make out that they're cops. So it all goes wrong. A big shootout starts. I mean, we open the movie with this huge shootout, basically. People shooting at each other. Some cops are shot straight away, so you're like, okay, this is Jackie Chan taking out the realism a little bit because people are getting shot off the bat. One of the cops wets himself because he's so afraid of what he's doing, and I always remember as a kid thinking, wow, that's so realistic. I've never seen anything like that in a film before. That's pretty full on.
That's what I liked. So when I watched it the other day, I thought, well, that brings in the realism, doesn't it, and all that. So
I know, man. And then Jackie's sort of like saying to him, calm down. Come on, we can do this. They eventually arrest Chu, the main baddie's secretary, whose name is, what's her name? Sylvia or something, I think. And
Oh, her name's
The
May.
baddies try. Sorry,
Her name's May. I think her name's May.
May.
I think it's
No. His fiance is called May.
Sorry, May.
I think it's Sylvia. I'm not sure, but I've said this. I've seen this movie a million times, and I'm getting the names wrong already.
I know Jackie's called Jack. I know Jackie's called Jackie Chan in this.
Well, that's the easy one, isn't it?
I can tell you that. Sorry, mate. Let you carry on.
So, so they've been rumbled. Big shootout. They capture Chu's secretary, and the bad guys realise that the cops have blocked off the bottom of the hill with loads of trucks and stuff, and they cannot escape. Selena, that's her name.
Right.
Selena.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. So the bad guys say, we're going to have to take a shortcut. So they just basically get in their cars and they drive through this shanty town full of little shacks and huts, straight down through. What does Jackie Chan do? Of course, he follows them in his car. And they just smash through. There's this incredible scene of them just completely annihilating a village, which was hand-built for this movie. It wasn't a village that was already there. And also, RJ, you might not know this. This is my first bit of Dan Bone trivia. Ding! Dan Bone trivia. This scene was copied for Bad Boys 2. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. All right, okay, it does make sense now.
So
yeah.
They homage it in Bad Boys 2, where they drive a few cars down through a shanty village on a hill, and they got permission from Jackie to do it.
Oh, did they? All right, that's fair enough. Okay.
And spoiler alert, that isn't the first time I'm going to tell you a bit of trivia like that.
And guess what, Dan?
There we go.
I'm not going to spoil that bit of trivia for you because I think I might know what that is, but no, I'm not going to. I'm going to let you tell.
I think you know the one I'm talking about with the bus.
Yeah.
Well, talking of which, Jackie crashes at the bottom of this mountain and he gives chase on foot. The bad guys hijack a double-decker bus. Yeah. Jackie Chan, I mean, what does he do with this umbrella, RJ? Can you please tell our listeners what is going on with this umbrella?
Well, what I like about it is he runs so fast that you think it's been sped up, but it probably hasn't. He probably really is running that fast. He runs past a lady in the street with an umbrella. And he goes to put it, but it doesn't go straight away, does it? She goes, what? And then he pulls it. It comes out of her hands. And then he's running towards the bus. And to mention, he's got his green R.J. McCready, I noticed here, boiler suit on as well. With his pumps.
He's got his boiler suit on, hasn't he?
And as we said earlier, this is all real stunts, isn't it? And he runs and then he just clips himself on, doesn't he? And it's almost like It's almost like he's a doll or a stunt doll on the back, hanging on the back, isn't he? But it's not. I mean, that's him, isn't it? And it's amazing. I'm just blown away by it every time I watch it.
To blow your mind, he attempted it with a normal umbrella initially, and it kept snapping, and he kept coming off the back of the bus and rolling. And you can imagine how much that might hurt. So eventually they constructed an umbrella that was made of pure metal so that the handle wouldn't snap off. It wasn't wooden.
Yeah.
So he tried it with a normal umbrella initially, the fool.
A wooden umbrella. It's just, that's Jackie Chan for you, man, isn't it? I mean, he's probably just thinking, I could get away with that probably. But yeah, so he gets onto the bus, doesn't he? And then you get some really good, scenes here where he's trying to jump on and the guy's trying to punch him through the window and he's moving out of the way, isn't he? And then you've got, I'm sure, main bad guys. It just makes me laugh how they're running around, and he's got the suitcase. Hey, where the what's he doing? And I think he gets his mobile phone out again, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says, I'm sure he's on the phone saying, the cops are on us. You need to get him out of here. And they smash Jackie Chan out of the bus because they hit him with a briefcase. He falls out the window. But he doesn't give up, even though this is like almost the third time now that he's failed. And he sort of slams his fist down. And this time he's like, right, I'm gonna cut them off. So he jumps down over a fence, runs down in front of the bus, and blocks her car, sort of stops her car in the middle of the road and says, I'm police, get out of the car. And then he just pulls his gun, and as the double down, I'm acting it out. I don't know why I'm acting it out, but here I am. I've got my hands up.
Yeah.
But he's standing there with the gun out, and the guys on the bus are like, just ram him. And the driver has got the knife to his throat, and he's like, I don't want to run him over. And they're like, just run through him. And then at the last second, Jackie goes to fire, but he fires up in the air. the bus driver puts the brakes on, and the two guys fire out the front windows, or three guys maybe fire out the windows of the bus and land on the hard concrete. All real stunts. And 2 bits of trivia off the back of that, and I think RJ, you've got one of those bits of trivia, haven't you? If it's the one I'm thinking of,
I'll let you roll with it, Dan. I'll let you share that with us.
So Jackie, being very good friends with Sylvester Stallone, Sylvester Stallone actually asked Jackie if he could borrow this stunt for the opening of Tango and Cash. Yeah. So you'll notice that Stallone does exactly this, but with a lorry, where he pulls a gun and the guys smash out the windows onto the ground, which is awesome. And that's the second stunt borrowed from this movie. And that's how influential this movie is. So whether you've seen this movie or not, you cannot deny the influences it has on the stunt world globally.
It's a blueprint, isn't it, really? And I think Tango and Cash only came out a couple of years after, didn't it? It was like 87 or something like that. It might be a little bit later.
It might be an 80, or not, you might be right. Yeah, 87, 88. The other thing about that stunt is that the guys were actually supposed to land on the car behind Jackie Chan. But because the bus's brakes were so good and they didn't expect it, it stopped a lot shorter than they expected, and they ended up just landing on the concrete. So that take they use is the one and only take. So the guys get up off the ground, they're rolling around on the ground. Ow, ow, ow. That's actually, they're in pain, but they acted through it because they figured, because they're trained, basically Jackie's stunt team, because he's got his own stunt team. Yeah. They're trained to just act until you hear cut, no matter what's happened to you, bones broken, no matter what. You do not stop till you hear cut. When you hear cut, then you can complain about that you're in pain. So that shot was the one. Isn't that insane?
It's mental, isn't it? And the crazy thing is all this has gone on, isn't it? And I think you're only about five or so minutes into the movie, aren't there? Do you know what I mean? And
that's just the opening scene, RJ. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's just it's just full on. And it's kind of, I think I've said this before, but it's a bit like Raiders of the Lost Ark, as in where you've got Indy going into the temple and you feel like you've come to the end of another film, don't you? And this scene here, I always thought this is like the climatic scene of a movie, isn't it? Do you think this you know, if you walked in, you've never seen this film, you think, oh, I've just caught the end of a movie, but it's not. It's
well, this is you've summed it up exactly. I believe Jackie Chan said he wanted the start of this film to feel like the end of a Hollywood movie, and so if you're saying that, then he's done his job, because and I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, that's right.
All of that.
Yeah, because you're getting another. You're kind of getting 2 bites of the cherry here, aren't you, with this? So, but no, it's great. And then what I find is after this scene here, it kind of it takes its foot off the accelerator a little bit, doesn't it? With the next scene, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It builds up a lot of the plot now, and the main plot really is that Selena, the secretary of Chu that they've arrested, they're going to use her as a witness to testify against him. So Jackie gets assigned as her bodyguard, even though he doesn't really want to do it. No. And also Selena doesn't want a bodyguard, obviously, because she doesn't want to testify against her boss, because he's a criminal drug lord. So we get a series of weird and wonderful and funny scenes where we get to meet Jackie's bosses, his superintendent and his lieutenant. And his lieutenant loves Jackie. His superintendent doesn't so much, but later on, he kind of likes him a bit. And
yes,
I think the weirdest scene really is where, and I know this has been talked about a lot, is where Jackie Chan is trying to convince Selena that she needs a bodyguard, and she just is adamant she doesn't need one. So he hires his buddy, another cop, to wear a white, sort of almost a bit of a Michael Myers type mask, and sort of break in.
I mean,
and wave a knife around her.
I was watching that. I was thinking, now what sort of mask is that? I mean, what purpose is that mask for?
It's not a very good mask.
I was trying to think, you know, what did he do? Go down a hardware store and buy that, did he, or something? I don't know.
It looks like a pair of pants on his face, doesn't it?
So yes. Oh man.
So that's quite a weird scene. And yeah, okay, maybe he's not the best cop in the world if that's what he's doing to get the witness on his side. But it works because she's scared enough that she's like, okay, well, you better be my bodyguard in that case then, and you better look after me. Just on a quick tangent, if I may, RJ, be permitted.
Yeah,
the guy in the mask is played by a guy called Mars, as in just one word, Mars, M-A-R-S. Right. That's his name, his nickname, actually, because he's one of the Jackie Chan stunt team. Now, most of the cops on the goodie side in this movie are in the Jackie Chan stunt team. You've got to really go through a lot of training, and there's got to be a lot of trust to be in Jackie's stunt team, as you can imagine. To the point, actually, that Jackie Chan and his stunt team they cannot get insurance on any movie they work on. So they have their own insurance company. Well, they did anyway up until recently. Yeah. But yeah, the guy called Mars, I just wanted to give you a bit of trivia on him, if I'm allowed. He basically is called Mars because when Jackie Chan first started becoming famous in the very late 70s, early 80s, he got a bit of an ego, and he used to wander around with just a pair of denim shorts and no shirt, if you can imagine that, and a medallion. He used to wander around Hong Kong, and he used to sort of challenge people to fight. So he used to beat them at pool. He's very good at pool as well, with a cigar in his mouth. And he got a bit cocky. And one night there was a bit of a bar fight, and quite a few of him and his stunt team got into a bit of a scrape. And you can look this up. This is all very, very real. And the guy whose now nickname is Mars, he saw that one of the guys that they were fighting was about to bottle Jackie Chan over the head. So Mars stepped in and took the bottle to the head. And ever since then, he's had they call him Mars because he's slightly slower, like he's on Mars. That was his nickname. But he also, because he's addicted to Mars bars, apparently, as well. So there's like two reasons that he's got that nickname. So since that day, Jackie Chan's like, you're never not going to be one of my main stuntmen. I cannot ever repay you enough for stepping in and taking that bottle. And that changed Jackie Chan. It made him drop his ego immediately.
Oh, wow.
And realise that he's not a dick. That's a bit of a silly thing to do, wander around like that. So just a bit of a side note there.
Yeah, because when you said to me that his name was Mars, I was actually going to say, is it because of a Mars bar? Funny enough, it bloody is. But
yeah, apparently for a long time after he took the bottle to the head, he was quite spaced out, as you can probably imagine. He probably had concussion and stuff for several months.
Stuntman like that, man. I'll give that guy a break. Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, that's a nice story. I like that. So, and it's good, like you say, where he's got that cameo as well, as a mask killer with a knife or whatever you put it. No, it's good stuff.
It's a funny old scene, that one.
Yeah.
What I would say, I mean, what do you think about Jackie's comedy? Because some people think it's a little bit too broad, but the Hong Kong and the Chinese style of comedy is very broad comedy, and it's also very different to the UK and the Western style of comedy. What would you think of the comedy styles in this?
Yeah, I like the combination of it. I think it worked very, very well in the Rush Hour series, and I'd almost say that, and this is no criticism to Police Story, it's almost like you get a chomp of raw action comedy, whereas in Rush Hour, they've managed to amalgamate all that. Do you know what I mean? You get the action with the comedy all the way through.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. Yeah.
So, what I think is that Police Story for me, in a way of superhero terms, is like Batman Begins. So he's kind of experimenting. He's kind of almost there with the character. And you can see that by the time they get to sort of films like Rush Hour and Shanghai Noon, they kind of got the model just right. So yeah, I reckon that'd be my take on it. So,
as a massive Jackie Chan fan, I completely agree with you, and I'll tell you why. It's because I feel Jackie Chan obviously directed this movie, this Police Story. I feel that he is better when directed by somebody else. Yeah. Because I do think his judgment sometimes with comedy and action and splicing the two together doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And I say that with a lot of love as a massive fan. So that's why I completely agree with you. And I think some of the better movies he did, particularly in the 80s and 90s, were when they were directed by other people.
Yeah.
And they just left him to direct the fight scenes. And then, they directed the rest of it. But even so, some of the comedy in this is hilarious. One of my favourite bits in this, comedy-wise, is he's given a tape recorder to try and record Selena confessing about Chu. And this is quite rude for a Jackie Chan movie, actually. During a fight scene with some guys attacking, the tape recorder gets slightly damaged, and he tries to sort of explain to her, because he has there's a mishap where his fiancée May, played by Maggie Chung, she thinks he's having an affair with Selena, who he's only being the bodyguard of. So we get a few custard pies to the faces, don't we?
That's
and it's
right,
because it's his birthday and he's forgotten. But there's this bit where he doesn't realise the tape's recording, and he gives her he gives Selena some orange squash, and then she sits on a cactus and sort of cries, then laughs, and then then the next day he plays the tape in court, and it sounds like something else is going on because she starts complaining. Oh, it's so prickly and spiky. Ow, you've got it all over me. I'm soaking wet. Oh, what is it? Ah!
He's got the judge and the jury listening, isn't he? Because
the judge is cracking up.
Because he's so adamant, isn't he, that this evidence he's got on this tape is going to clear him or whatever, or going to help him out. And then that comes
because he gets there late. Because he gets to the courtroom late. So basically, Selena escapes just before this. And so he gets to the courtroom late, and they're like, "Where's the witness?" And Jackie Chan's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, she's escaped." And his boss is like, "You absolute idiot! Everything hinges on this." Yeah. Right. Well, I've got the tape. Play the tape. And then it's obviously, as we've described, it sounds like he's just showing her his willy, and things have gone really wrong. So it hasn't gone very well for Jackie. In fact, he kind of gets. Because at one point he's a bit Captain America, isn't he? Earlier in the film, after the big bust. They kind of parade him on TV and in commercials.
He's a poster boy, isn't he, and all that, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's exactly like that. And actually, again, another little quick tangent. Dan Bone facts.
Boom, boom, boom.
The police, actually, I don't think they do anymore, but the Hong Kong police did use the song that Jackie Chan sings, A Hero's Story, for all of their commercials for quite many years because they loved it so much. So it's kind of associated with the police.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Where was I? I don't know where I was. Oh, yes, he gets demoted.
Yeah, because that's right. Because, like I say, in that court, that magistrate just laughs his arse off, doesn't he? That's a funny thing with that. So
it's ridiculous.
Oh, man.
So he ends up having to take phone calls in some little shack somewhere in a tiny little farmyard police headquarters. Where there's like a cow that does a big poo outside.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's it. I remember that.
He steps in the cow dung, and then he does like a break dance, moonwalk to get the cow dung off of his shoe, doesn't he?
It's the most random scene because almost forgot about that scene. There he is. He's doing like it almost seemed like a sort of Jean-Claude Van Damme sort of dance, didn't it? You know what I mean? When he's sort of got his sort of tank top on, isn't it?
That is a good dance.
Oh man! And then, like I say, you got is this the telephone call scene? Is this where he's taken about 6 different?
Yeah, so we got more almost Carry On movie style shenanigans here, where he's speaking to one woman who has been attacked, another woman who wants to take him on an after pill, another woman who they're speaking to his fiance. Who then puts his future mother-in-law on the phone. Yeah. So he's speaking to 5 or 6 people all at the same time, and he ends up getting the conversations muddled up, and they all get slowly offended one by one. He just wants to eat his noodles in peace, doesn't he?
That's it, yeah, that's it, because he's talking to his fiancée, isn't he, on one of the phones. He's got his noodles, like you say. It's quite a clever, clean scene, actually, isn't it? I think it was done on almost one take or something like that, they were saying.
Yeah, especially with the phones at the end, but he unflips all the phones and puts them back onto their receivers and then undoes them all because he just wants the piece. It's really well done. And again, it's really clever writing and scripting. Gets overlooked because this is a Chinese movie, and a lot of people have watched this either dubbed or with subtitles, but it's actually a really cleverly written scene, and almost something like the Two Ronnies would have done probably back in the day.
Yeah, Two Ronnies, yeah, that's it. Got any O's?
4 candles.
Honestly, Dan, I never thought we'd be talking about Two Ronnies, man. Please story.
I never thought a Jackie Chan conversation would inspire us to talk about the Two Ronnies. You are correct. That is weird. 4 candles.
Oh man, my classics.
Candles for forks.
I don't know if any of our American listeners will get that sketch, but yeah, it's a hell of a funny scene. That is.
That is my hands down favourite sketch of theirs. That one there.
I was a massive fan of him when I was growing up as well. By the way, so yeah.
And I think Jackie Chan probably has that type of sense of humor, because it is a little bit more broader, but he's very good at acting as the sort of person who is in a very unexpected situation.
You know what, Dan? I've got to say, you've probably hit the nail on the head there. I would actually say, to Ronnie's sense of humour is his sense of humour, isn't it? It's certainly a lot of my sense of humour, so it's probably the reason why I get it, especially with Ronnie Barker. Some of the stuff they got in there. I think they even had a police sketch as well, didn't they? Piglet, Ronnie Malone and Piglet or something like that, don't they?
That does ring a bell, actually. Yeah. I'll tell you what, as well, though, Jackie is really heavily influenced by Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, okay.
In fact, his 3 major influences, and you're going to never guess the third one because it's not Bruce Lee or anybody like that. His 3 major influences, he's always said, have been Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin. So Buster Keaton did all his own stunts, obviously, exactly like Jackie Chan. Charlie Chaplin, physical comedy, silent movies. So for Jackie, that was important because not a lot of people speak Chinese. He didn't speak English very well initially. Right. So a silent actor like Charlie Chaplin is a great hero for Jackie Chan because he gets across these fantastic comic moments without saying anything. Yeah. And the third one was Gene Kelly because of the rhythm and the dance. In fact, Jackie says he puts a lot of that rhythm from Gene Kelly's early movies into some of his fight scenes. There's a couple of fight scenes in Armor of God where he fights a load of monks in a monastery towards the end of that movie. It's like a dance. The rhythm is insane, and it's because of Gene Kelly. He puts all of that in there. So those are his big 3 influences when he thinks of movies and fight scenes and acting. Very interesting guy, Jackie Chan. Very interesting guy.
So it's almost like you've got your mixed martial art, but then with Jackie Chan, you've got your martial art, your comedy, and your dancing all sort of put into one, isn't it? To how he's reacting.
And do you know what all 3 of those have got in common, RJ? Timing. You've got to have comic timing. You've got to have rhythm and timing for dancing, and for martial arts, of course, especially on screen, you need timing. So that's probably what ties them all together.
And you know what, Dan? That's why I can't do any 3 of those.
Yeah, I'd like to think after about 3 or 4 beers I can have a dance, if I'm honest.
I've seen those dances.
Never quite works out. Never quite works like that.
Dressed up like Rick Grimes, dancing. I've seen that. It was like Mr. Soft.
Yeah, I'd had quite a few beers at that point.
You did, mate. Oh dear. Oh well, there you go.
So back to Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
So Jackie Chan and May, his fiancée, they meet up because he's now basically been lured. He's been lured to this apartment block where Selena has been kidnapped. And he's told by an informant where she is. So he goes to this apartment block not knowing that it's a trap. And he goes in, starts untying her from the chair, and is instantly like surrounded by loads of choose guys. Yeah. He fights off a bunch of them. It's a great fight scene. He puts them through coffee tables, walls, out of windows. But ultimately, he's not Batman. He's not a superhero. He's overpowered. And they put a gun on him. It's his own gun that they've taken off of him. And they point it at one of his buddies who's turned up, who's a cop, who turns out to be, as we call a bent copper in the UK, a rogue copper. And they shoot him, and they basically say to Jackie Chan, "We're going to frame you for this. There's nothing you can do about it." They chloroform him, as they did quite a lot in the 80s.
That is a chloroform thing, isn't it? Yeah, that seems to be the thing.
It really is. It's quicksand and chloroform, the 2 things I was scared of the most in the 80s.
80s
I've never come across either of them.
No. That's a point actually. Yeah, is it a myth? Does it work? I don't know.
Every movie, if they go on a beach, they start falling into I'm in the quicksand, help me. Or a baddie will come up behind you with a handkerchief. Oh, knocked out. Does it work, chloroform? I don't know.
Or something will fall from the sky and you just put it in your hands and pick it up.
Oh, what's this in the graveyard? It seems like some kind of device that plays music. I'll take this to Benny's shop and see what he says.
You got an 80s plot right there, mate, I tell you.
Yeah, it's not been done before, has it?
Yeah, that's it,
So he gets knocked out. Jackie gets knocked out. He wakes up and realizes that he's been set up. He's all over the newspapers the next morning. You know, he's killed his buddy. Everyone thinks he's killed this cop, and they think he's the bent copper, and he doesn't know what to do. So he goes to visit May, and May says to him, like, I can help you. I believe you. I'm your fiance, but what the hell are you going to do about this? It's absolutely insane. So he goes to visit his, and I love this scene. It's quite a serious scene, actually, RJ, isn't it? He goes to visit his lieutenant and his super.
Yeah.
And he just breaks into the station straight away, and all his buddies look at him like, oh, wow, okay, you've come into the station even though you're wanted for murder. And he goes straight into the office and he says, I didn't do it. I wish I could remember, but I can't tell you what happened, but I just know I didn't do it. And in the end, they're like, we're going to have to arrest you for murder. We need your gun, we need your badge. It's that kind of lethal weapon thing. But he flips the script here. He grabs his gun and he pulls it on his super and takes him hostage. Takes him out of the building.
And then he drives off, doesn't he, with the superintendent, doesn't he? And I noticed here that the superintendent is kind of on his side here, isn't he? Because he
really wins him over, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he
gets
says,
it. He believes him.
Get in the car, drive off. I hope you work it out. But he kind of goes into a bit of a, I will find you. People are going to have to find you.
Yeah, he says something like, look, I believe you. You've got about 24 hours to do whatever it is you need to do. But after that, we're coming for you because we've got evidence that you've done this. So you need to prove us wrong. So he gives him that little bit of breathing space.
Yeah. Go! I'll give you. Do you really want to give Jackie Chan 24 hours to go and cause some more carnage? He only needed 5 minutes at the beginning of the film, didn't he?
5 minutes is all he needs, but 24 hours is what he's got, and he heads off to the Wing On Plaza in Hong Kong, and this is where we get our final 20-25 minutes of absolute. This is the scene I would normally fast forward to as a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Let me get to that final scene.
This is where it got the nickname The Glass Story as well, wasn't it? Because of all the sugar glass that they used to this movie as well.
That's exactly it, yeah. Most of the crew started calling the movie Glass Story because of the amount of glass that they smashed and all the fake glass that was being used. Absolutely. So I mentioned to you off air, and I'll mention now, I have been to the Wing On Plaza in real life. Yeah, so when I was 21, so many years ago now, I went to Hong Kong. I know I've touched on this, I won't harp on about it, but to meet Jackie Chan. And one of the things we did while we were there is we went to visit a few different sets and sort of filming locations. So that one was the one I was really excited to go and visit because obviously, wow, Police Story. And we got there and I was so disappointed because in real life it's just this tiny little shopping mall. But the way they film it, they make it seem huge.
Yeah.
But I still managed to take pictures of me lying down on escalators and pretending to get about to jump off of railings, and all the Chinese people there were just looking at us like, oh, bloody tourists, they come here all the time. Apparently it's very common. Loads of tourists go there from all parts of the world and just take pictures of themselves lying around.
What you mean you're going up an escalator and all of a sudden you've got loads of people jumping down on top of you?
The only thing I couldn't do was jump off the top floor and slide down a giant pole. They wouldn't let me do that for some reason. I don't know why that was.
I know you're coming up to that scene there, Dan, but man, yeah. But at the same time, mate, there must have been a bit of nostalgia there for you when you visited these locations, especially,
it was magical.
And all that, yeah. So I imagine that was pretty cool, man.
That was a very special time for me, actually, and it almost feels, I think I probably mentioned this to you before and other people, it feels like a dream that any of that really happened, because it was, I'm 42 now, so that was half my life ago. I was 21 when it happened, and I was very, very lucky and fortunate to be picked to go to Hong Kong, meet Jackie. I met him 4 times in Hong Kong, went to his office, I had dinner with him, went to a premiere with him, we went to watch a movie with him in the cinema, gorgeous, one of his movies, and then one of the days we had free, we were shown around various, not just Jackie Chan movie sets, but other movie sets, because so many movies are filmed in Hong Kong. You'd recognise so many background scenes and stuff from other Hong Kong movies as well. So it's a very magical time, really. And like I said, it feels like a dream now because it was so long ago. And when I say it out loud, it's not often I talk about these things, but when I say them out loud, I think, did I did I have dinner with Jackie Chan? Did I? What?
Yeah.
But I did. I
Cool?
sat next to him and had dinner with him one day. You know, it's pretty weird,
But
really.
like you say, just to meet him would be great. And imagine being 21, you're meeting your hero, and you're doing all that other stuff. So yeah, I could imagine. You know, it's like that'd be like me spending the weekend with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell or something like that. You know.
I mean, if you can imagine what that would be like, this is everything that was really. I only expected to meet him probably. Well, I knew I was going to be meeting him once, so I was very nervous. But we ended up hanging out with him 4 times. And one of the times I actually bumped into him because we were in the cinema waiting for the movie to come on, and he walked past me, and I thought, wow, that guy looks like Jackie Chan. And then I thought, oh, it is Jackie Chan. And I'd stood up, you see, to go to the bathroom before the movie started, and I looked at him and froze in my seat, and he just put his finger to his lips and went shh, shh, because he wanted it to be a surprise that he was there. Oh, wow. So I sat back down, and my friend said, aren't you going for a piss? And I said, no, I couldn't speak. And he came down to the front of the screen, and the spotlight came on him, and he went, everybody welcome. He did this like big smiling face, and the place just erupted. And he said, you didn't know I was going to be here. This is a surprise for you all. I hope you all enjoy the movie. Da, da, da. And he just chatted for 5 minutes and then left. And I was just like, I was the guy that had spotted him coming into the cinema.
Yeah.
And he shushed me. Like, to be told off by Jackie Chan was just insane.
I was going to say, Dan,
that was my first time.
By that point, you pissed your pants, didn't you?
Honestly, I didn't care at that point. I did not care at that point.
You've just urinated like that bloke on the film. Oh, dear.
I was very, it was. I was like the cop. Yeah. I was very nervous, though, when I had dinner with him, because, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I try not to get starstruck, and I have met a few celebrities here and there, and I'm not being a big head, it just happens in life, doesn't it? But when we were having dinner, so Jackie owns a chain of restaurants called Jackie's Kitchen, and on one of the last nights we were there, we got taken to Jackie's Kitchen, and we're all quite excited to be eating out. And they were paying for us. A lot of it was paid for by Jackie Chan, which is again so lovely of him to do that. It was all to celebrate Chinese New Year, so it was around February, and we were sat in this restaurant, and there was probably 8 of us at a table, and at the end of the table, so I'm on the long part of the table, and the very head of the table there's an empty seat, and I didn't think anything of it at all. A couple of the girls that were with us had brought their Jackie Chan biographies, and they took them everywhere with them in case they bumped into him and he would sign it. Well, they were in luck today, because I tell you what, we were just about to order from the menu, and look around and you see this guy, and he's so larger than life. You just look around and you think, that looks like, oh, it is Jackie Chan. And he's just got this big smile and these big hands, and he's waving and hello everybody, and he starts patting everybody on the shoulders, shaking hands, kissing people, hugging people. And you just think, then he pulled the chair right next to me, and I thought, oh shit, he's going to sit next to me. What am I going to do? And he pulled the chair and went, this is for me, and sat down. And I just thought, this is ridiculous.
Well, and he actually sat next to you.
He sat on the head of the table, so I was on his side, like on the next corner.
Like you say, at the same time, mate, it must have been surreal, like you say.
It's still surreal now. It feels like a dream now.
I can hear it in your voice, the way you're telling it. Do you know what I mean? As if you've had a dream and you're trying to tell me this dream, but it's not a dream.
He ended up having dinner with us. He ended up having a couple of glasses of wine. We chatted. It felt like a job interview mixed with, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. He would sort of ask me, what's your favorite movie of my movies? And I'd have to think, and I mentioned a really obscure one called Miracles, the Canton Godfather, and he was like, yes, that's got my favorite long shot in it, that one. It's got a great shot in it that I directed. So that got conversation going.
I was going to say, you were going to say Cyborg with Van Damme, was you?
Imagine that.
Just throw that one in.
My favourite movie? Probably. Crazy time for me, really. And I think, before we get back to the movie, the weirdest bit for me really was probably when we were talking about his injuries, because he loves talking about all that. He's very open with his fans.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure most people who know Jackie Chan will know, but if you don't, I will explain now. During Armour of God, one of his movies, he slipped out of a tree and landed on a rock, punctured his skull, and had to have brain surgery. This was back when it was Yugoslavia, and there weren't any brain doctors really around at that point, so it was very dangerous. He's now deaf in one ear because of it, and he has now a plastic plate in the back of his skull because of it, because he punctured his skull. So we were talking about his injuries and stuff, as you do with Jackie Chan while you're having dinner. Weird, so weird. And he said to me or the other person on the other side of him, and of course when I sing, it vibrates. And I sort of laughed and took a sip of wine, like, what the hell's going on? And he said, come. And he grabbed my hand and he put my fingers and he sort of pushed them into the back of his head, into his hair. And I could feel like there was a bit of a smoother bit under his hair. And then he went, and he started singing, and I could feel what he meant. There was like a little vibration of this little plastic plug in the back of his head, and I thought, I can die now.
Well, you're probably one of the only people in the world that's done that. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty amazing. Oh my god! You know what? I'm surprised there's anything left of the guy, though. Do you know what I mean? With you saying, made up plates, scars here. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he's taken a lot of hits, hasn't he? Yeah. Broken a lot of bones, broken his nose 3 times. He once got an injury so bad on Police Story 3. Basically, there's a scene in Police Story 3 where he's on a train, and he's swinging around on the edge of a train, and a helicopter is supposed to just clip him.
Right.
So you imagine how dangerous that scene is I've just described to you anyway. But the helicopter hits him full pelt in the back, so the cockpit hits him so hard he couldn't walk properly for almost a week. And the doctor said that your cells, so the bruise across your entire back, arse and legs, is so large that the cells can't regenerate, and they are in danger of becoming cancerous cells. Oh, so he got hit so hard that a bruise almost became cancer. That is insane.
Oh,
that is God. That's mental.
That's I've heard of that before. I think that happened to a famous jockey, didn't it? There's a film called Champions, which was played by John Hurt, just on a bit of a tangent, and he got hit by the horse. And he got hit that hard that it turned into cancer. I've heard of that story before.
See, I'd never heard of that until then, so it's interesting to know you've heard of that as well. That is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So, I mean, it's almost like he's experienced every form of trauma, isn't it? With his stunts and everything like that, do you know what I mean? So he's
had brain surgery, he's had it all, really. And these last 20 minutes, so if we bring it back to the shopping centre, these last 20 minutes certainly are... If you were Jackie Chan and you had a CV, you just present them with the last 20 minutes of this movie. You'd say, well, you want to know what I do? Take a look at this. And it does it all.
It's an amazing scene. I always think that a film is as good as the start of the film as it is at the end, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's very clever how you start with it's like a bookend, isn't it? You've got the bus scene, and then you've got this scene, isn't it? It's what you remember, isn't it? With him jumping off from the... was it like an escalator, top of the escalator, isn't it? Onto the...
Yeah, I mean, he fights his way up and then back down this shopping centre. He's taking out bad guys left, right and centre. He's using everything that's around him, whether it's mannequins or clothes rails. He jumps on and off of escalators. There's bones. You messaged me the other night while you were watching it saying they could never make this movie now.
No.
Every stuntman would end up in the hospital. It's insane.
You just wouldn't be able to do it now, would you? I just don't think you could.
But the problem is, or the good thing is that because they're all in the Jackie Chan stunt club, they were just trying to outdo each other. They'd all be like, no, I'll do this one. I'll jump off of that. No, I'll do this. Let me jump through there. Yeah. Baseball bats, dummies, you name it. Even the girls that play Selena and Maggie Chung, they were like, I want to do a stunt. So they'd throw the girls through glass, through tables. And this is why it was called Glass Story, because so much glass was getting smashed left, right and centre. It was absolutely insane.
And it's almost, because I watched this, I showed this last after to my daughter, and we both found it hilarious. And that's not mocking the film, but it's so good, it's almost funny, isn't it? Just the way the guys flip over and go into the glass and down the escalators and all that. And
It looks funny, doesn't it? It's like a cartoon because they spin around and hit the ground, but then you see them hit the ground, and it's the real ground, and you think, oh.
Yeah, that's it. You think, well, that's right. You can't see any cushions, can you, taking the blows here, can you? So
there's no mats or anything.
Straight through.
And actually, this is my third and final stunt borrowed from Jackie Chan. So here's another Dan fact.
I didn't know this one. Right, okay.
Dan fact.
Right.
The scene where Jackie in the shopping centre, so someone grabs a motorcycle that's on display, and Jackie grabs that off the guy and rides it into the guy and through probably 10 sheets of glass with the guy on the front of it. Neither of them wearing helmets, no protection, just loads of sugar glass spraying all over them. That was actually borrowed by Brandon Lee in a movie called Rapid Fire.
Oh, right. Yeah,
and he does exactly that stunt in there. And Brandon Lee did only make 4 or 5 movies, but he was a big Jackie Chan fan. Obviously, his dad was Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But so yeah, that's another stunt. So you've got 3 movies: Bad Boys 2, Rapid Fire, and Tango and Cash. So that's, like you said earlier, RJ, this was a blueprint for a lot of stunt work, and it changed the game for Hollywood movies, for Hong Kong movies, sorry.
Yeah, it's like I say, the blueprint. And there's another film, actually, it's worth mentioning, is Rapid Fire. It doesn't really get mentioned much, but it's a good film, actually, isn't it? It's a pretty good movie.
That film is... Now, it's difficult for me, now you brought that up, because I was going to suggest to you that at some point me and you perhaps took a look at that movie, but then I thought... Showdown in Little Tokyo, Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee, that's much more of a fun movie. But Rapid Fire is just a well-crafted, very gritty movie.
Yeah, because I've got, I'm trying to think of his name now.
Powers Booth.
Powers Booth, yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a really good scene where he's taking on all the bad guys, and I think it's got is there a montage scene with a sort of power ballad or something like that in there? It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's proper... Was it made in the 80s? Was it late 80s or early 90s? Something like that.
Let's have a quick look, because God, man, that movie is just insanely good. Like, on a side note, guys, if you've not seen most people would have only seen The Crow if you're talking Brandon Lee movies. But I tell you what, he did make 1 or 2 other fantastic movies, and Rapid Fire is just one of those movies that is
what makes me laugh with Rapid Fire is the plot is that he's a witness, isn't he? And he needs protecting. He don't need protecting, does he, in that movie?
He doesn't. 1992. Yeah, that's exactly it. He doesn't need protecting at all. He ends up. I mean, again, he's Bruce Lee's son.
Yeah, that's great. I think that might have been the second to last movie that he did before The Crow, wasn't it? I think possibly.
I think you're right. Yeah. So yeah, there's another stunt borrowed. So to finish up, what more can Jackie Chan do in this movie? He's swung off buses, he's had fights with multiple opponents, he's done this, that and the other. Well, there's one final stunt that he can do in this shopping centre, and that is he's going to jump from the top balcony, the top floor, grab a pole that's got loads of electrical lights on it, and just slide to the bottom and smash through some ground, get up and arrest the bad guy.
Oh man, it's just badass, isn't it? It is just awesome. It's probably one of my favourite stunts, actually.
He did it multiple times, because the first couple of times he did it, he wasn't happy. As often is the case, he wasn't happy with the way it looked or the way he landed. So I believe that. So the shots you see, so it does show it from 2 or 3 different shots, but they're all different shots, which is why in each shot, he does a different sound, or he says something different.
Oh, really?
Because he's like, "What? You know what? I risked myself so much. I'm just gonna." He does that in most of his movies. If he's taken 2 or 3 shots, he'll play them all. He doesn't care.
I didn't know. I didn't know that was taken 3 times. I thought that was just one shot on different camera angles. But bloody hell, I thought doing it once.
Well, the main shot they used went a little bit wrong, because they weren't supposed to plug the lights in. They were supposed to plug the lights into a car battery.
Right.
They plugged them into the mains.
God. Why not? Why not just do that?
So he slid down. He slid down this pole. And he got electrocuted as he slid down the pole. I don't know how many thousands of volts went into him. But also, on top of that, because the glass then heated up through electrocution, all the glass shattered. So his hands, he lost 2 or 3 layers of skin off of his hands through burns,
God.
electrocution, and glass. He lands on the ground, gets up, and still acts out the rest of that take.
Bloody hell, man.
And as soon as they cut, then he said, my hands!
Because I suppose what you've got there, you've got all the adrenaline as well, haven't you? I suppose rushing through his body, he's probably not even going to feel it, is he? So, wow.
He also suffered 7th, so his 7th and 8th vertebra were injured, and he slightly dislocated his pelvis. So not only was all of that I've just described, that very final take, the one that the main one that was used, he burnt all the skin off his hands, injured 2 of his vertebrae, and slightly dislocated his pelvis. Still did the scene, then said, "Cut, can you please help me? I'm in a bit of pain."
Bloody hell.
Amazing. And what I like about the movie is it doesn't end with comedy at all. It ends with quite serious stuff where the lawyer turns up and he's almost getting Chew off. He's like, "You've got no right to do this. You beat up people. You don't have any evidence. You guys are going down." And Jackie's lieutenant says to the super, and like you said, Super's on his side now. He says, "We're going to have to write a report up here, aren't we?" And the super says, "For what? I haven't seen anything." And he just walks off.
You know what, Dad? I was just going to say that. I thought it's
so
brilliant.
good.
When I watched it the other day, I thought, I can't believe that. He's actually just come out and said, "Nah, nothing went on here." But from all that glass breaking.
And it wouldn't be an 80s movie if it didn't end on a freeze frame. And it ends with the Chew, the baddie, sort of goading Jackie once more. And Jackie just launches himself at him, but all his cop buddies hold him back. And then it freezes and just launches into the end song with the credits. And then, of course, the outtakes.
And I'm kind of glad it ended that way, because it's probably the best ending to have there, isn't it, with him, just because he starts punching him, doesn't he, in the
it's furious, isn't it? It's furious.
So yeah, that's great. Like I say, I just love that bit when the superintendent or his chief just goes, "Nah, it's all right, I'm not going to write this up, don't worry about it."
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't see anything, see ya."
Brilliant.
He just walks off. I love that. I absolutely love that. Great little side characters in the movie as well. And
Yes.
It's one of those movies where, on first glance, you probably just you watch it, you love all the stunts, that's that. But I honestly, and again, I'm very biased, but I honestly say the more you watch this movie, the more you pick up on these little side characters, the little things that are said, the way that they interact, the relationships. These guys worked together a long time. The guy that plays his lieutenant has been in loads of Jackie Chan movies. In fact, he's in a lot of the Police Story sequels. So they have a really good chemistry together.
Right.
All the guys in the police force are in the Jackie Chan stunt team, so they've got huge chemistry there as well. They have their own language as well. I don't know if you know about the language of the Jackie Chan stuntmen team. Do you know about that?
No, I didn't know about that. No, not at all. You give me a proper
So they
Jackie
developed
Chan
this.
education here, mate.
Well, they developed this in the late 70s and early 80s. And basically, I'm going to spoil this now, but when you watch Jackie Chan fighting from the late 70s probably through till the late 80s, you'll hear a particular language. Now, it sounds like grunts and fighting and stuff, because it's like hoi, 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 hey, hoi. But each of those sounds means a particular thing.
Right.
And they've developed this language so that if you hear a particular, let's say, for example, hoi, that might mean I'm coming on your left. So
okay. Right,
you know that person's coming at you from the left.
Yeah.
And it's all to do with timing and where that person's coming from. And it's how they get the rhythm and the timing and everything just perfect.
Yeah.
And how they only sometimes need 4 or 5 rehearsals before they've got a fight scene down. And that's the secret language of the Jackie Chan Fight Club. It's Stunt Club. It's not secret, but it is like their little thing that they've developed over the years.
Very
It's
clever.
insane.
Very, very clever, I'd say. Especially with, like you say, it's all the timing and the coordination, like you say, with all the stuff. So, yeah, I like that.
What can I say? I love this movie. You might have picked up on that a little bit.
Dan, I can hear it, man. The thing is, though, mate, this is the thing. This is what I love about films and stuff in general. Is it's that passion I can hear in your voice when you're talking about this. Do you know what I mean? It just it's release of energy, isn't it? You know, you're going back.
And do you know what? It's not my favourite Jackie Chan movie either. You know, but it is. It's one of the ones you've got to, if you want to learn about what what he is and what he does.
Yeah,
You've got to check this movie out, man.
It's
a game changer.
Like I say, I'm very biased with my films and all my films, not my films, but the films that I review. Because I always think there's no point in reviewing a film that you don't like. So all the films that I review on this show are films that I like. So I am very biased and always. They might not be a good film to other people, but they are to me. So probably not the best way to review a film. But what I would say with this is that I appreciate this film because of all what you just said, what Jackie Chan's done, the action, what he's been through. He's almost died, isn't he, really, doing this film? But I wouldn't say it's the perfect film, is it, in terms of filmmaking? There's bits where it kind of goes up and down, like we said earlier, with the comedy elements. But
yeah, and there's certainly you've summed it up for me earlier.
Yeah.
Rewatching this film this week was the first time I'd seen it, and I usually watch this movie about once every year or so, but it's the first time in 2 or 3 years, and I actually thought it gets a bit boring after the first sort of 30 minutes or so. It does. It's not perfect.
No, but like I say, I can appreciate what he's trying to do as a director, because he's obviously directed this film and stuff. So, but yeah, I think you could probably have another cut of this movie where it's just full on action, couldn't you? You could probably take out all the sort of comedy and just have it as a, just almost like a sort of bus ride, isn't it? Like at the beginning, it just keeps going till he gets
just
to the
chop
end.
it all together.
Yeah,
like Speed.
Yes. Well, there you go. That's probably another film that is probably influenced by this type of movie, isn't it? Somewhere, I would say.
Jackie Chan is there's a few parts of his career that never quite went where they were supposed to go, and I'm not sure if you know this, but he was heavily in discussion with Stallone to star as the baddie in Demolition Man, and at one point they were literally a signature away, and then in the end he said, "Look, Stallone, I don't want my first proper English movie, Hollywood movie, to be me with the baddie."
Oh, right.
So that's where they got Wesley Snipes. They were like, "All right, don't worry, we've got another guy that can step in and play this." He's just one of those guys where he's the biggest action star in the world, but only because of the countries that know about him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
China, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and now the UK and America. But I feel like America and the UK only really caught on to him in the mid 80s. Like he's been so big to the point that his nickname was Little Brother or Little Dragon, because they always saw he was going to be the next Bruce Lee. They were looking for the next Bruce Lee, the next person to represent them as a Chinese people. The guy's career is just insane, and
That's amazing. Yeah.
and he's not a perfect man either. He's not perfect. He's made a couple of mistakes in his career, and he admits that. But he's definitely in my heroes list. We've all got heroes.
Yeah.
And I know John Carpenter's one of yours. I think Jackie Chan for me, man.
Yeah, that's it. They're inspirational characters, aren't they? Like you say, they are not only just actors or artwork that they portray. They are leading figures as well, aren't they? Because they're telling these stories and they've got morals and things like that, which I know is a big part of you and me, as we've spoken about, off the show. So, yeah.
How lucky are we that we both met our heroes as well? Very lucky.
Got to say, Dan, yeah. I'll say with John Carpenter as well. Also met...
I'm very jealous of that.
I've met a couple of people, like, whilst I've been out and about up in London. I met John Hurt once. Just in passing.
No way.
Yeah. It's just nicest guy in the world, He's, just... I was in Soho, walking along the street, and there he was, and I thought, oh my God, it's John Hurt. And, he said earlier, what do I do? What do I say? And I just went for it. I said, hello, sir. And he stopped. And we were just talking about Alien, Just I said, I'm a big fan of your movies and all that sort of stuff. And the thing that I got was that he really appreciated the work that I was recognising. Do you know what I mean? So, a nice chat. We had a good chat.
I did the same with Pete Postlethwaite.
Oh, did you? All right, yeah.
I was in a pub in Bristol, and it's a pub very near a theatre. I think I've told the story on my show. I was having a beer with a couple of mates. This is about 20 years ago. and there's a theatre nearby, the Old Vic, the Old Vic it was, and he was having a pint at the bar reading a newspaper, and he must have been doing a play in the theatre. And I said to my mates, "Holy shit, that is Pete Postlethwaite!" And they were like, "Who?" And I was like, I started listing movies that he'd been in.
Yeah.
And at that point, you had to really kind of know movies, I guess. But I definitely, and I went up to him and I said, "Sorry, can I just say, I'm a huge fan of your work." And he went, "Well, that's terribly good of you to say so. So thank you so much." And he shook my hand and was very polite. And he said, "Well, you make sure you guys have a lovely evening." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much." And he sort of opened his paperback up and flaps it open and sort of gave me a nice smile, but also sort of meant, now I'm going to carry on reading this paper and having a beer. But I got it, and he gave me the handshake, and I went back and sat down, and I was just buzzing for the rest of the night. Like, oh my God.
I know how you feel. It's just, you get that buzz, don't you? You just think, wow. Because they are people, obviously, but I don't know about you, when you meet them, you sort of see him as the character that you've seen on the screen, whatever movie that is. And it's crazy. So it's some good stuff, man. I just love it. It's like I say, it just makes you feel good for the rest of the day, doesn't it? It just releases that energy.
And they say don't meet your heroes, and I know what people mean, but I'm so happy that the few times that I've met Jackie Chan, that he's always been that lovely guy. Big smile, handshakes, hugs, just wants to please everybody, and really lovely guy. So do meet your heroes is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And if you do meet them and they're off, it might just be because they're having an off day, I'd say. Because sometimes that happens, doesn't it?
Like you just said, they're human beings.
Yeah, that's it. So, but no, it's good stuff, Dan. No, I appreciate you coming onto the show today, mate.
Dude, can I just say, this has been a pleasure, and I've these shows have got more and more exciting for me that I've appeared on. He-Man, I was already excited discussing that. You bring me on to discuss Bruce Lee, wow. You're bringing me on for Jackie Chan, insane. So thank you so much, and I've really, 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 really enjoyed this. You can probably tell I'm super excited, and I've had a great time.
I'll say, mate, the listeners could probably hear it. It's all about just you and me having a chat about films that we love and all that sort of stuff. So, mate, I'm having a ball. I'm having a really good time with this.
Absolutely, having a good time.
We'll just keep it going, man. Do you know what I mean? You want to come on board? We've got another film in the line, haven't we? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So,
well, we're keeping the martial arts going here, aren't we? Because we've gone from Enter the Dragon to Jackie Chan to Ninja Turtles. So.
Yeah. And we mentioned Princess Bride, and you mentioned Uncle Buck the other day as well, didn't you? Or we brought up John Candy.
I want to talk some John Candy. So if you're happy to discuss a little bit of Uncle Buck, then
I'm all for that, mate. And I had one of the listeners on the show, Dan Nichols, he posted something on Facebook today, and I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to mention this to Dan. It was the Goonies.
I knew you were going to ask me that, because I saw Dan's post and I thought, has RJ covered the Goonies? Because if he doesn't do it without me, I'm never listening to his show again.
Because when I think, to be honest with you, mate, when I think of Corey Feldman, I think of you in a brotherly sort of way, if you know what I mean. So.
Look, man, if you want to talk about the Goonies with me for an hour,
I'd love to, mate. Yeah,
I am all over that.
Yeah.
100%.
I'll put you down for that. There will be a fun episode, mate, because it's going to be a hell of a lot of nostalgia. Oh, man, I'll tell you. When it comes to films of the 80s, man, that is it. So, yeah. All right, Dan. Well, listen, mate. We'll end it on the Goonies. We've gone from Police Story to the Goonies, man. So it's always a good thing. So thanks, Dan.
Thank you, sir.
Let's say, guys, I just do a bit of admin for the show. I am a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. So please go and check out other shows such as Dan's show, the podcast on Haunted Hill. Actually, Dan, you've just done a new episode, haven't you? Is it the Creep Show, isn't it?
We did. Episode 91 was Creep Show and Creep Show 2. So check that out. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on legionpodcast.com and all the other many places you can find RJ's show. We are on the same network, the Legion Network. So check us out.
Check us all out. We're all brothers together on that network. We're having a whole ton of fun. And I've got a Facebook page, so post some stuff on there. I mean, as you know, I've already got a busy schedule, but if you post stuff on there, we'll try and do it for you guys. And you can find Bitesize Cinema on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and several other players if you put in Bitesize Cinema Podcast on Legion on Google. So there you go, guys. Go close the show now. Keep it bite-sized, keep it safe.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Helming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.